For years, the Phillies have had sky-high expectations. It's all been about winning a World Series, something they haven't done since 2008.
Phillies are world champions.
They've had massive additions, from paying the highest contracts in sports history to bringing in the home run king of baseball.
He has done it! 4 home runs in a game!
They've been back to competing for championships, fighting to win it all. But in the midst of everything, have seemingly fallen off time and time again, forcing everyone to question whether or not it's all over. Have they wasted their once wide open window of success? Will it all be coming to an end? It feels like it, and they haven't done themselves any favors either. They angered their best player Bryce Harper by saying he was good but no longer elite. He then responded by calling them out.
I don't know about elite things because I'm not elite anymore, so I was just shocked. More than anything, I was just like, that's kind of wild.
It's been a disaster for a roster that's talented enough to be considered amongst the league's best. This story all begins with the 2019 season. They were in a big playoff drought and hadn't found success in nearly a decade. But at least they had pieces. You see, back in 2015, star pitcher Aaron Nola came up. A year later, it was a reliable arm in Zach Eflin, and lastly, in 2017, their first baseman Rhys Hoskins showed up. Yet, they still weren't good. 2018 to 2019 absolutely reflects that. And that's when they decided enough was enough, and made the best decision this franchise could have made for the 2020 era Phillies.
We've got a major story out of Philadelphia. Let's start right there. John Heyman is reporting that the deal is in place for Dave Dombrowski to become the Phillies' new president of baseball operations. Dombrowski won a World Series with the Red Sox in 2018 and the Florida Marlins in 1997. He's also been a GM of the Montreal Expos, 14 seasons with the Detroit Tigers.
It's worth noting that at first, he had no interest in coming to Philadelphia. It wasn't easy to persuade him either, but the Phillies promised him roster flexibility with a high payroll to build his team.
He will always go the extra mile to make them competitive, always get the extra player to go and make that team its best each and every night.
The type of team he wanted to create was rather obvious. After he was hired with the Red Sox in mid-2015, he got to work in no time. With Hall of Famer David Ortiz retiring, he had to revamp the firepower across the board on this team, and it started with the pitching.
According to reports, the team acquired left-handed pitcher Chris Sale from the Chicago White Sox.
With an arm like Chris Sale's, he was the guy who could lead their rotation, but they still wanted more firepower in this lineup.
And it is JD Martinez.
This is a clear example of Dombrowski seeing a weakness without Big Papi in the lineup and addressing it heads-on with JD, who hit 45 combined homers in 2017.
1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series.
One of the best squads in MLB history, and while he didn't necessarily start the puzzle, he was able to add the finishing pieces into it. And that's all he had to do going into his tenure with the Phillies. Hey, real quick, this video is sponsored by Odoo. When I started this YouTube channel, nobody told me how many different softwares I'd have to learn. At times, it's gotten rather overwhelming, and to this day it actually still does. And that's why I'm partnering with Odoo. They're an all-in-one business solution that comes with a 14-day free trial. With their wide variety of apps, you can manage the important functions of your business like sales, invoices, or even the customer management portion. I constantly find myself making business calls, and I'm in the Odoo sales app for the sake of easily setting tasks, reminders, and making it easier as a whole to schedule appointments or calls. Thanks to their user-friendly accounting app, you can create an unlimited amount of invoices, track each of them, and automatically follow up with anyone who's late on a payment. So if you and your colleagues are interested, start a 14-day trial with Odoo through the link in the description. Again, thank you to my friends over at Odoo for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to it. They had a variety of pieces in place, from former Yankee World Series winning manager Joe Girardi to the players on the roster. In the pitching alone, Aaron Nola was molding into a Philly legend. Zach Wheeler, who was recently acquired from the Mets, had a good 2020. And we cannot forget about Zach Eflin, who was also supposed to be a fine third option for them. You might look at that unit and assume they were pretty good, but they played somewhat handicapped in 2020 due to an historically awful bullpen that crippled them to an 8 ERA by August 21st. This included a game against the Yankees, in which they were leading by 7 runs, only for the bullpen to blow the game, marking this as a Phillies loss. Statistically, they were the second worst bullpen in MLB history, only behind the 1930 Phillies. So the bullpen was the priority on a pitching basis, but what did the lineup have?
It is gone. A 2-run home run for Bryce Harper.
Let's not forget that in the same exact offseason of getting Bryce Harper, they got the best catcher in baseball, JT Realmuto.
Realmuto, left field, and deep, and gone! Ball game!
So with Realmuto and Harper becoming the clear bright spots to an incredible offseason, their lineup was legit. These two were actually complemented by a former MVP superstar, Andrew McCutchen, who joined the squad on a 3-year deal. And even over at second base, Gene Segura, an MLB vet, took charge. Over at first, Rhys Hoskins had been a featured slugger in Philly since 2017 and consistently had seasons as their top home run hitter. But for the 2020 season, the newest exciting athlete was the 31st ranked prospect third baseman Alec Bohm. He was hyped up as their top prospect, the best third base prospect to insert into their lineup. Within the state, there was debate between who would be the better third base option, Ke'Bryan Hayes of the Pittsburgh Pirates or Alec Bohm of the Phillies. One being a hitting merchant and the other being a defensive phenomenon. And this was the state of the Phillies right before Dave Dombrowski got the job. It was now his responsibility to build a plan to polish everything in Philadelphia. He made it a priority to re-sign JT Realmuto onto a massive 5-year contract worth over $100 million. They also re-signed former Yankees shortstop Didi Gregorius, who is coming off of a great year in Philly. A hitter who between 2016 to 18 hit 20 home runs or more, a perfect fit into this lineup. The aggression by Dave continued all off season. In the bullpen alone, he invested $7 million for Matt Moore and Chase Anderson. Veteran arm Archie Bradley also made his way to the Phillies as Dombrowski put $6 million into him. But the biggest, the most impactful move of the offseason for the bullpen was when Philadelphia made a push to trade for Rays pitcher Jose Alvarado. A 3.46 ERA bullpen arm and could complete a hopeful bullpen transformation. On paper, the roster was projected to win 83 games in one of the toughest divisions in baseball. With the Mets destined alongside the Braves to lead this division, could the Phillies give them a run for their money? Could they get a wildcard spot? We all found out pretty quickly. In opening week, they were letting up 9-inning home runs. The Rockies had a walk-off off the pen. The Mets did, the Braves did again. And hell, the New England Patriots might have hit a homer in the 9th off their pen. They were just as bad as years past. They had the second most blown saves in baseball with 34 of them. In one stretch during the season, they blew 6 saves in just 4 games. Also, I haven't even mentioned this yet.
Pops this one up in the shallow center. Maton back, Segura there, and they drop it!
The brutal defense was yet another defect of this Phillies ball club. Shortstop Didi Gregorius, who was formerly a solid glove, had the 5th most errors in all of baseball with 18. Year 1 of Dombrowski's tenure was a failure, but it wasn't all his fault. Philly fans had growing animosity towards manager Joe Girardi. From bad bullpen management to an unwillingness to make Alec Bohm the everyday third baseman, fans were getting fed up and fast. But Dave still wanted to give Joe another shot at manager with a far more talented roster. And right when free agency opened, the Phillies were all over the top options. This decade of a Phillies drought needed to end, and Dombrowski had an insane offseason on the horizon. The first several months of free agency was bleak, especially with the MLB lockout. Many thought that the Phillies were targeting Cubs superstar Kris Bryant, who was a free agent for the first time in his career. Solid defense, solid power, consistent hitter, but he wanted a lot of money. And then other opportunities arose. The Phillies went ahead and shocked everyone. They signed Nick Castellanos, 35 home runs in 2021, a .309 average, 38% above the league average as a hitter.
That's rope to left field. O'Neill spun around. Bye-bye baseball.
Yet Castellanos was just the beginning.
After 2 months with the Red Sox, Kyle Schwarber has found a new home as he'll be signing with the Phillies.
The only bad part of the signing for Schwarber is the brutal defense that comes with him.
Their defense, when you look at it on paper, is like kind of horrendous.
As a Red Sox fan who got to watch Kyle Schwarber destroy baseballs for months with the Red Sox, I was extremely jealous of this signing. The Phillies lineup was genuinely insane, but their defensive issues were genuinely scary. Aside from the defensive things going on, Zach Wheeler was dealing with injuries that could turn into another problem.
It puts a lot of pressure on Nola, and he's become unreliable in my mind.
Nola was not completely alone though. Ranger Suarez, who emerged as a star bullpen arm with a 1 ERA in 2021, was going to be a starter in 2022. Regardless of fans' rightful concerns, they weren't perfect, but they could finally contend for the first damn time in years. Top infield prospect Bryson Stott was also projected to be on the roster. He exhibited all of the tools to make a serious impact on this ball club. ESPN had them winning 89 games, a 67% chance to make the playoffs, and then the season began. Their bad bullpen was still existent, losses piled up. By early June, they had lost 12 of their last 17 games. The record was 22-29. The never-ending bad bullpen management couldn't go on, so then...
New at noon, Philadelphia Phillies manager Joe Girardi has been fired.
In his third year with Philadelphia, he was 22-29.
This felt long overdue, and this was undoubtedly the right move for the Phillies, because immediately, Rob Thompson took command as manager, a baseball mind who had been with the organization since 2017. The tide was finally turning.
Yeah, baby! Fly ball to deep right field! This game is tied in a long way! 3-run home run for Bryson Stott! That was lined out to left center field. That's gonna win the ball game! And a high fly ball to deep right field. Did he do it? Did he do it? He did it!
Coming on is Marsh, still coming on, makes the catch. The ball game is over. The drought is over after 11 seasons.
With the clinch, they had officially punched their ticket into the postseason for the first time since 2011. And suddenly, Philadelphia was back.
And the Phillies hold on. They win 2-0, and they will meet the Atlanta Braves.
After storming past the Cardinals, they were miraculously able to do the same thing over the Atlanta Braves, 100-win Atlanta Braves I might add. And finally, they were in the NLCS against the San Diego Padres, a team that I actually just made a YouTube video on, so definitely check that out if you'd like.
Suarez fires. Pop fly. Right field. Segura's out. Castellanos on. And the Philadelphia Phillies are going to the World Series.
They had done it. They had built a World Series contending roster through all of the hardship and all of the flaws. I'm not sure anyone would have thought of the Philadelphia Phillies as a potential World Series threat in 2022, but it had happened, and it was their chance right now to come out and finish this. Their opponent, well, they were the most well-rounded and undoubtedly the best team they'd have to face all year. Were the Phillies up for the challenge after all? Well, it didn't feel like it in Game 1 while they were down 5-0. People were writing them off in this one, but...
Sit into left field. Third hit of the inning, and the Phillies are on the board. It's 5-1.
Ripped down the left field line. That is going to be in there for a hit. It'll go to the corner. Harper will score. Castellanos on his way into third. They're going to wave him home, and it's a 2-run double.
It's a 2-run double for JT!
The Phillies unbelievably scratched away with a win, but in dramatic fashion, the Astros took Game 2. And then, the Phillies responded by a shutout in Game 3. With a 2-1 lead in the series, they moved confidently, but then something happened. Out of nowhere, the bats went cold in Philadelphia. They hit below a 100 average in the final 30 innings. They actually became the first big league team to ever be no-hit in a World Series. And the Astros...
Kyle Tucker, this time they finished the job! The Houston Astros, world champions!
Yes, the Phillies had done more than anyone thought they were capable of, but it hurt to see this ride come to an end. Over the next offseason, Dombrowski wasted no time preparing for 2023 to be the year that 2022 was not. In other words, he was determined to chase a championship into Philadelphia.
Turner got a new home. Now a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. The all-star shortstop reportedly agreed to an 11-year deal worth $300 million.
This lineup, as dangerous as it looked, had serious flaws. A lot of power, but not a lot of contact. A lot of big names, but also a few big holes. And defensively, everything was still shaky, especially with Harper having to get Tommy John. You look over at first base, and it was empty of their longtime Rhys Hoskins as he tragically tore his ACL in spring training. But as the season progressed, something clicked. By the end of 2023, they won 90 games, the most they have had since 2011. Late in the season, they had caught fire like they did in 2022. In the wildcard round, they took down the Miami Marlins. Then came the Braves. Sound familiar? Well, this time they didn't just beat the Braves, they controlled the entire damn series. Back in the NLCS, the only team standing in the way was an 82-win Arizona Diamondbacks team. The Phillies controlled 3-2, one win away from being back in a World Series. And randomly, the Diamondbacks took Game 6 and forced a final Game 7, and guess what?
Over is Carroll. He's got it, and the Arizona Diamondbacks are headed to the World Series.
In these final 2 games, their pitching let up 9 runs, and their offense scored only 3. It's fair to say that it's just every time they'd go on these runs where the team was red hot, they would vanish when it mattered the most. And suddenly, this was the core. They couldn't make another splash. All they did in the next offseason was lock up Aaron Nola to a 7-year deal. Which, don't get me wrong, that's great and all, but the team was getting older. Young guys like Alec Bowman, Bryson Stott had not translated into the stars we once thought they would. Though in 2024, this might have been the most polished 2020s team we had ever seen out of the Phillies. Erupting as division leaders with a 10-game lead more than halfway through the year, finishing with 95 wins. But what do you know? They lost 8 of their last 13 games of 2024, they went cold, and couldn't make it to the big series. The debate and controversy around the Phillies that started in 2025 has continued going into 2026, whether or not this Phillies window is closed. It felt like it would all come to an end soon. Yes, for 2025, the Phillies traded for star pitcher Jesus Luzardo. Wheeler got an extension, and another starter in Christopher Sanchez was also extended. It's great to see stability with a lot of these guys, but the majority of their core was getting old fast. Schwarber was an upcoming free agent, so was Suarez, and they knew that they couldn't re-sign everyone. So they went all in on 2025 being the World Series team they had dreamt of. To achieve that, it started with a huge trade deadline. They got an amazing bullpen arm, Yohan Duran, and a Gold Glove defensive outfielder in Harrison Bader. But it's always the same old tale when we talk about the current day Phillies. That concluded their 2025 and began a chaotic offseason, one in which Kyle Schwarber re-signing was a top priority. But also in the offseason, Ranger Suarez left. Aside from Suarez leaving, Wheeler has hinted that he may retire after 2027 when his contract expires. Aaron Nola played like garbage in 2025, of course, as he went through injuries, so the future looks a little slim with these guys. JT Realmuto has been on a decline, and according to Dave Dombrowski, their star hitter Bryce Harper is no longer elite, which has just made him so happy with the Phillies. Yet, here we are, questioning if any of this will ever lead to the story of how they got the Philadelphia Phillies to a championship. So, do you think that the Phillies window is open, or has it closed? Definitely let me know in the comments, and if you did enjoy, please subscribe, it helps me out a lot. Peace out.